Hello and welcome back to another Star Wars Sunday stream here on Gumbo, brought to you by Starlight Beacon. I got my man P. Rich with me today. How's it going, sir?
Good, man. Mando, one more week left.
Yeah, man. One more episode, man. It's crazy. It's
I
crazy.
know that it felt like it just flew by. I felt like I was waiting so long for the second season, and then it got here. It is already over.
Yeah, I mean those 8 episodes fly. I mean that's
Yeah.
really, if you think, I mean it's what that's only 8 weeks of content
Oh yeah. Yeah.
that we've got to experience. Yeah, but you know we got a huge just dumping of good news on Thursday right before
Yeah.
uh episode 7 of season 2 of The Mandalorian came out. Man, we got a bunch of news that we're going to talk about. That we're going to break that down. We're going to go have a deep dive lore discussion, because
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of things shown. A lot of new shows, 2 new movies announced, and um, something that flew under the radar was there was a couple of new news stories for the High Republic publication
Mm-hmm.
um, initiative, which actually launches in January next month.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this stuff is going to be connected in some way, and I kind of want to take this Sunday and kind of speculate as to where all these connections could potentially
Mm-hmm.
be. So that's going to be the show for today, man.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. I always like talking Star Wars with you, so I'm ready to get into this
Me too.
conversation.
Last week we had a great episode. It was like what, almost 2 hours. I think we went over.
Yeah, we did. It'll probably be another long one because there's just so much to cover.
Dude, so
Um,
much. Do you want to start? Do you want to start with the High Republic? Should we go in there? Because there was a show announced for that.
it was, but I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
save it
save it. Okay.
because I'm thinking if we can't get to it on this show, I'm gonna do a video on it because I have an idea for a lore video
Okay.
that I can cover some more of this stuff. But let's get into this and try to fit it in, because man, like I haven't really had a chance to talk really in depth about the
Yeah.
shows and the movies. So
Yeah.
um, I think right off the bat, I want to start with the Bad Batch, because that trailer was just on fire, man. What did you see that
Yeah, I
trailer?
saw it, and and one of the things I don't know, is that Finnick we're seeing in it? It
I
looked like
believe so.
that was Finnick.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and I was just like, whoa! It's about time we get to see her in her full glory, because we're only getting a little taste of her. You know what I mean?
yeah,
In the live action, and I'm just super excited to see her in her full blown like sniper assassin mode.
exactly. I mean, this is
Yeah,
really her in her prime, or at
yeah,
least when she's making a name for herself. I said this,
yeah.
I believe, on the Friday or Saturday stream. I can't remember, but I believe she would be. I'm just speculating that right
Mhm.
now in The Mandalorian, she's probably in her late 30s and 40s, which would put
Mm.
her in her 20s around the time of Order 66. So I'm like, all right, that is interesting because we get to see her on the rise. Like maybe she's affiliated with the Black Sun,
Yeah.
maybe
Mhm.
she's affiliated with the Maul Shadow Collective.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
That could be interesting. Like that's why
What?
I'm like, yeah,
But she was an Imperial sniper. Well, she was there with
nah,
for
she was
no,
just
she
she was
wasn't.
just no, she was a gun for hire.
Just gun for hire. Okay,
she
I
was
could.
one of the top mercenaries for the Hut cartel.
Oh, the Huts. Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, man, I'm very excited. So a little. Let's go back to the Bad Batch. So is this takes place during Clone Wars? Am I
It
correct? Or
does.
is this, okay,
No,
gotcha.
this is right after. Bad Batch takes place during Order 66. Because
Oh,
we see that
yeah, I saw a lot of stuff in the trailer where I was kind of
yeah,
confused on where when it was taking place, and I was like, "Is he fighting stormtroopers? Like, hold on, what's going on here?" I'm like,
I
so yeah,
believe I believe this story picks up. I'm gonna say that right after their arc in season 7, I think
Mhm.
this story picks up. Like I don't think that there's much of a time jump between season 7 of Clone Wars and the Bad Batch.
Okay, gotcha.
Um, and as we know, like season 7 is basically the like a couple days leading up to the Order 66, and then
Mhm.
the final arc is actually when the order is given.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tie-ins, a lot of connections. We see the transition of the clone troopers into the stormtroopers. I'm sure we're
Mhm.
going to explore that a little bit
Mhm.
with the Empire moving to a draft and actually bringing in humans to become uh, um, stormtroopers and not relying on the clones as much.
Yeah.
We know that they phased the clone troopers out, in kind of like in waves. They transitioned them into like more of you know uh, commanding officers where they're training and teaching the stormtroopers, the new cadets, like the ways of the Empire and the Republic military.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the codes and everything that they use in the Republic military transition into the Empire. So like, I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot of that. I think we're going to see a lot of the clones that we've seen from the Clone Wars. Commander
Okay.
Cody will probably more than likely pop up in this series. Rex might pop up in some capacity.
Okay.
Gregor. I think I was watching Star Wars Explained earlier today, and he had a theory that we could see Quinlan Voss pop up in
Oh wow.
this
Okay.
because he's rumored to be alive during this. He survived the Order 66 attack. We know that in current canon. We don't know
Okay.
his fate, but we do know he survived the initial onslaught.
Okay.
Um, it's a possibility that Mace Windu in animation could pop up.
I'm ready.
Um, like, yeah, I mean, we could see a younger Kanan Jarrus pop up in this. Like,
No.
um, shoot, man, we could see. There's so much potential for that series.
Yeah, and so what's going on? So the bad. So obviously they were affected by the chip, correct? Or no? And so,
Oh, well, we don't know with the Bad Batch. Like, I mean, it's a Bad Batch of clones, so like
but yeah,
their inhibitor chips might not even be functioning. So like they might not even the order might not even affected them.
yeah, because they were so different in their in their change. They explained it in season 7 where they were like, these are the clones that kind of just they took on their own personalities and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
so yeah, I was just I was kind of confused. I was like, so is the Emperor using them as his own personal like SWAT team? You know what I
yeah.
mean? Where he's just going in like,
It seems like it. I mean, it
Yeah.
seems like they're kind of like a black book task force now, like where
Yeah.
none of their missions are on the books. Like it seemed like they were going up against clone troopers
Mhm.
in some of those sequences. It looked like
Yeah.
they were just it. I mean, them working with Tarkin means that whatever they're doing is very nefarious, and I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised if it was like way off the books. Like,
Yeah.
and if they're on operations for the Empire that's off the books, they don't even want trace back to them. Like, good
Yeah,
God,
right.
like,
Yeah, they're doing some messed up stuff. And you
yeah,
know what? Just to bring it back to this current episode of Mandalorian, it was kind of crazy because what we were hearing it's funny. The script is kind of flipped a little bit. You see the rebels, they're attacking the Empire constantly killing them and everything like that. But in this episode, we kind of got a little bit of what the Empire is doing to the New Republic, where they're kind of creating these like mini 9/11 kind of attacks, trying to show that like, look, you guys have freedom, but look, you see how it is. They're like doing these kind of like crazy attacks where they're killing 5 to 10,000 people, including their own people, in these like in these massive attacks. And it was just like in the character even said, he was just like, everybody thinks they want freedom, but what they really want is order. And so I was like, oh, is that kind of like they're alluding to First Order a little bit? Like that's kind of like how it is. They're like, you see what's going on during the New Republic. They can't control it. Come back with us and we'll bring order and stability back to the galaxy. And that's kind of like,
yeah.
that's kind of, yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that was pretty much Operation Cinder is what he was referring to, and that was after the Emperor was killed on the Death Star. His contingency was basically if he couldn't rule the Empire, nobody could. So he decided, in case of his death, he would burn the Empire from the inside out. And only his favorites would survive. And so Operation Cinder was the beginning of that, and then him creating the First Order out in the unknown regions. And he only selected like a handful of admirals that he favored to go and be basically to start the First Order. And we see some of the, if you've read Lost Stars. I believe Admiral Ray Sloan pops up. She actually pops up in uh, the Squadrons video game.
Oh
If
wow,
you play on the Imperial storyline, you see her
okay. I
pop up.
haven't played it yet.
Yeah, there's a number of characters, but to your point of those guerrilla attacks, like this is I would almost bank on us seeing Saul Guerrera and his partisans at
Mm-hmm.
some point during this Bad Batch series, because they were the ones that pretty much were the face of the Empire for, I mean, not the Empire, but the rebellion for a long time. Like
Okay.
Guerrera was trained by Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano in guerrilla warfare
Mm-hmm.
to free his home planet of Onderon. I almost said
Mm-hmm.
Alderaan, Onderon. And uh, after the fall of the Republic, he founded the partisans, and they were like the infamous, like no holds barred group of the Rebel Alliance that like they would go hit civilian populations. They didn't care. Like they were ragtag to the core.
Dirty.
Yeah. Let me get to these comments real quick.
Okay.
Kalisto, what's up? Good to see you. Always. I kept an eye on Discord, so I wouldn't miss this, but I actually got a YouTube notification. Coop, you are one of the very few channels that still seem to be working this week. I mean, listen, this is a lot to talk about. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the most news that we've gotten in months, honestly. Trev, I'm here, but I'm just listening for a bit, driving home. All right, be safe, dude. Appreciate you. Fanjecture, what's good? Adam, what's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. And he would have only chosen true believers of the Empire. Yeah. So back to the Operation Cinder. Like only the people he felt were the true believers in the Empire and the Imperial cause is who he selected for Operation Cinder. But yeah, back track to the Bad Batch stuff. Like it would be kind of cool. This might be a reach, but I don't know. Like there could be some connections between the Andor series, Cassian Andor series, and the Bad Batch. Like you could, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Cassian Andor or another character from that series in animation in some, pop up. I mean, you would have to think, depending on how long this Bad Batch series runs, it's going to run into the early stages of the Rebel Alliance. Like there's all these dissidents within the galaxy that are basically the foundation of the rebellion. We see this alluded to in Thrawn, who also could pop up in the Bad Batch stuff, because he is on the rise during this time period. He would have already made contact with the Emperor and had been admitted into the Imperial Academy to become a Grand Admiral. So all this is all happening during this time.
Yeah, because even what Rebels, based on like the first few episodes, they do the Empire Day, and that's like they say 7, maybe 8 years later, for that series alone. So if this is happening, Bad Batch is happening right now, like, immediately after Order 66, then we're going to be getting like, the maximum resistance. Like we might be encountering Jedis who still they might be going after people because they don't have the Inquisitors yet. They probably haven't set up that Inquisitor program.
Oh no, they're ready.
Oh, did they were ready with the Inquisitor program? Okay, so there will be some Inquisitors.
So the Inquisitors are basically the founding members of the Inquisitors are the former guardians of the Jedi Temple that Palpatine basically converts to the dark side. Like he gives them an ultimatum, like they can either serve him or die, basically. And they chose, some of them chose to join the Inquisitorium. Others didn't fare so well.
Yeah, so we'll probably see some more probably different Inquisitors in this series, probably. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Grand Inquisitor popped up, because he would be he reports directly to Vader. During this time period. So yeah, man. I mean, there's actually a lot going on during this specific time period. Like, I mean, we could get an idea of how big the Inquisitorium is, because we don't know how many of the Inquisitors are there. Like, we know a couple of the brothers and sisters, but we don't know how many there are. We know that 1% of the Jedi Order, so like about 1,000 knights survived the initial Order 66. So there are a lot of Jedi out there that they would need to be hunting down.
Okay.
Yeah, Jason Isaacs voices the Grand Inquisitor.
Okay.
If you don't know who that is, that's probably one of his most notable roles is Draco Malfoy's father to Trev's point in the Harry Potter series.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's who that is. Great voice and talent, man. Great voice and talent. Like he's such an imposing figure, and good villain. And he's actually also in Star Trek Discovery.
I haven't seen
the
Star Trek. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I forget his name in Star Trek Discovery, but yeah, he's also in that. He's in the starring role.
Quick question: do you think I want to just maybe just do you think the Bad Batch? Do you think they could take on a Jedi like them? Like they just he sends them in and they just like you think they could?
I mean,
you think they would have to surprise a Jedi or like
just like I mean not head on. No, they wouldn't. Okay. I mean. It would depend. Like I think a seasoned knight and a master, no, they wouldn't be able to. Yeah. They would fare well for a little while, if not at all. A Padawan, yeah, they could probably take out a Padawan. Okay. Yeah, like because they don't have enough training in the Force, like to be able to combat like a soldier of that caliber of No, I couldn't see that. But yeah, it would depend on the Jedi.
Okay, cool. I'm pretty excited for that show, though. I mean, like based on the trailer, I was just like, man.
It seemed it was a lot of action in there. Hold on, let me go back to the comment. I believe Trev said something. Yeah, Boba too could pop up in this as well because Boba Fett would be also gaining reputation as a bounty hunter. This would be his prime as a hunter. In the original Clone Wars Season 7 arc, he was supposed to be training under Cad Bane directly because Cad wanted to basically train him up to his best potential and then fight him one-on-one to see who's the better combatant. And that's how that arc ends. We don't know what the fate of Cad Bane was, but they're basically in the Mexican standoff and they both get a shot off. Cad's shot hits Boba in his helmet, and that's where he gets that dent. And then we just don't know what the fate is of Cad. It was kind of alluded to. It's alluded to that he died because I don't think I can't imagine Boba missing in that situation. But Trev says he kills Cad. I believe that would probably be the case, but they could change that now because Cad Bane is a very popular character amongst Star Wars fans. So that could be interesting, man. I'm very excited for that. So I had zero anticipation for that series when it was announced initially because I was like, well, one, we didn't have the Mandalorian, or at least the Mandalorian was, I think, in his initial run, and I was kind of like, all right, bro, let's get out of the Clone Wars era because seems to be, every time we get a series, it's prior to the original trilogy, and I'm like, let's move it forward, let's get past or go back to the Old Republic or something. Like, give me something outside of the Clone Wars, but now with everything happening in the Mandalorian, everything with all the connections and continuity that they are building within this Star Wars universe, I'm more excited for this series, and that trailer was awesome. Definitely awesome. Another big thing we got was the Obi-Wan series, which we knew was coming, but we got some more information about that series. We got confirmation that Hayden Christensen would be returning to reprise his role as Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. That was a rumor that we've been hearing pretty much all year. So it was cool to get that confirmation. And then they dropped another dime. They tried to kind of slide it in there that they're going to be fighting each other.
Yeah,
they said it so subtly, like they put no emphasis on it at all. But they were just like, it's going to be the rematch of the century. We're
I
like,
heard about
wait,
that. Yeah,
rematch?
what?
What do you mean?
Rematch. Yeah, that's what I thought. And
Yeah.
and I was talking about it earlier with a couple of friends where we were just kind of speculating on like how and when, like, it takes place 10 years after Revenge. And it's like, okay, he's on Tatooine. It's like, unless it's just like, has Vader known Luke was alive this entire time and on his like on Tatooine and just kind of didn't like, you know what I mean, mess with him or I had this whole thing where and at this point, what Luke would be 10 years old probably at this point. And so and I was thinking maybe Luke accidentally uses the Force, which draws some attention to Tatooine, and Obi-Wan comes out of hiding to be like, okay, I got to protect Luke. So I'm going to be the one that pretends like I'm this, the one that kind of uses the Force that brings like everybody senses, and he kind of, you had that rematch of this, the century type of thing. So that was my thought. I don't know about yours, but that was kind of my thought process behind it. Like, Luke kind of uses the Force by accident, or, he's, doing something and it draws the attention of Vader and, the Inquisitors or whatever. And then like everybody's just all on Tatooine and it just kind of just unleashes hell a little bit. And then that's where, maybe, Obi-Wan kind of like, he has to take a bullet for the team type of thing where he's like, I'm coming out. Here I am. And then maybe he leads them off somewhere, maybe like leaves Tatooine kind of like on this kind of galactic chase. I don't know, but that's kind of my thought on it, on the series.
Yeah. I don't believe that the fight is going to take place on Tatooine. And there are a couple things that are going on during this time period, especially 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, that are going to play a factor into this. The biggest thing is the role of Qui-Gon, because I know Qui-Gon is definitely going to be in this series in some capacity. I believe that Liam Neeson is going to lend his voice talents, because we know that Qui-Gon is teaching Obi-Wan and Yoda how to become Force ghosts. And I believe a lot of his training under Qui-Gon happens during this time period.
Okay.
Qui-Gon can't manifest himself fully on any planet except for Dagobah or another planet that's strong in the Force. So it's likely that Obi-Wan is going to leave Tatooine for this reason. Probably go to Dagobah to get this training. He might see like a vision of Anakin becoming Darth Vader. He probably has heard rumors of Vader if he doesn't know about him already. But the thing with Obi-Wan believed that he left Anakin for dead. Like he believes that Anakin died on Mustafar.
Okay.
He has no idea that Anakin is Vader, and he probably doesn't know, and that would probably be one of the big reveals for him in this series. Yeah, because one, in the original trilogy, Obi-Wan tells Luke that Vader is more machine now than man, and he wouldn't know that unless unless he'd seen Anakin as Vader.
Yeah.
So like, I believe that this is where this confrontation comes into play, but it won't happen on Tatooine. Like it'll be off planet somewhere. I could see a situation where Obi-Wan goes into the cave on Dagobah, has a vision, and sees Anakin in that Vader outfit, and like he has like he's like, all right, I gotta know if this is true. And
he's in his little chamber. Yeah, he's in his little chamber where the helmet's coming on. He sees that, and it's just like turns around and it's like rotating. And yeah, that'd be kind of I love that. I love that idea. Yeah,
I could see that, how that would come into play. And it's funny that you bring that up about Luke, because there are some things in the Obi-Wan comic which kind of, it also takes place in this time period where Luke is Obi-Wan is always lurking in the background, watching over Luke. Owen in Peru won't let Obi-Wan near Luke, so he basically watches from a distance. But there's some things that happen with Tusken Raiders when Luke is a child that Obi-Wan intervenes with and uses the Force in order to scare the Tusken Raiders off, and Luke never knows he's there. Like Luke has no idea what happens, and it is an interesting way that Obi-Wan uses the Force in that situation, because he can't be the knight. Like he can't ignite his lightsaber. Like he can't do that. He can't be that guy anymore.
He can't be a Jedi.
Yeah, so he does it in like a wizard like way where it's like real subtle, where it could be seen as an accident. Like I think he makes a boulder fall and it
Mm.
crushes the Tuscans. But it's no way. I mean, the rock could have given way, like a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
It was a nice subtle way for him to use the Force, save Luke without drawing any unwanted attention.
And the Tuscans, all they want is them to stay off their land.
Yeah, as we've learned in the
Come on.
Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, just stay off their land. Leave those people alone.
Mhm.
Stop trying to colonize them.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so that I think that's will and I definitely what I want the series to really focus on is that interpersonal relationship with Obi-Wan and make it go into that Eastern philosophy and him learning to become one with himself and like that he needs to make that transition from that warrior general to that sagely monk that we find on Tatooine in episode 4. Like that's a rough transition. It's going to take a lot of changing for Obi-Wan based on what we know of him from the Clone Wars animated TV show and the prequels. Like those are two completely different characters.
He's changed, and it's like, and it's one of those things, like you said, it's just like if you would have just without reading any of like the comic books or watching the cartoon series and just watching episode 1 through 6, you would have been like, Obi-Wan, that'd be. But like you watch the cartoons and you're just like, man, this man has been through so much, you know what I mean? And it's just like you're training this Padawan up, that your master, Qui-Gon was like hoping to train and he died. Then, then you got, Anakin, he turns against you. You got, his, it wasn't his wife. It was kind of like his girlfriend or, what was it? The princess of, who was that of? Mandalore, right? I'm not sure. I'm probably getting my stuff.
Duchess. Yeah, Duchess.
Yeah, Duchess. Yeah. And she, I mean, Darth Maul, man, maybe
a lot. Yeah, his character is going through a lot, and he's had a lot of failures. And like a big thing within that Eastern philosophy is like dealing with failure and like understanding how to accept that and to move on and to grow from it. And that's what this story really needs to be about. Like him coming to terms with his failures. I think there should be some resistance. I think he should be kind of sort of like that stubborn version of himself that we're so familiar with from the Clone Wars, and the confrontation with Anakin as Vader. I think that confrontation has to break him, but it will make him the master that we've come to know and love from the original trilogy, the wise old man.
Yeah. And do you think so? Hold on. Does this series? Okay, I'm still watching Rebels. Okay, let everybody know.
Okay.
Darth Maul.
So no spoilers, no Rebels, no Rebel spoilers.
I know Darth Maul comes back. I know there's a confrontation with Darth Maul and Obi-Wan at a point in the series, correct? Mm-hmm. Now, is this series at what point in that is this going to happen? Is that after this series?
So this would be so that confrontation is about 5 to 8 years later. I mean, because Rebels takes place, I think it starts about 3 years prior to A New Hope. And then it ends like right before Rogue One.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's late. It's later in the.
So episode 1 of Rebels starts about 3 years before New Hope.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So he hadn't even fought Darth Maul yet. He hadn't even fought Darth Maul. So in the new Obi-Wan,
he doesn't even. Yeah, he has no. He wouldn't even know what the fate of Maul is at this point in time.
Oh wow. Okay, gotcha. Wow. Crazy, interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when Maul show and it's never mind. But yeah, he doesn't.
I get there.
That hasn't happened yet. I couldn't. I honestly couldn't even say if Obi-Wan would have known that Maul was around. But when you see Obi-Wan in Rebels, he is that sage. He has become the sage. Like he is not, and he's a true to form master. Like
Wow. So basically what we see in Obi-Wan is what we're gonna like is basically what led him into that Sage Master that we see in Rebels.
That's what the series has to be about. It has to
Maybe
be about.
I should just wait and watch Obi-Wan first, then I go and start and then finish up Rebels afterwards.
No, I would finish it because I'm pretty sure there are going to be a lot of things. You definitely want to finish Rebels before the Ahsoka series comes out because you're going to get spoiled by the Ahsoka series.
Okay.
Yeah, you won't be able to watch the Ahsoka series without spoilers. I guarantee you.
This is going to be right.
Yeah, Trev is right. Ezra and the twins. So Ezra, Luke, and Leia are same age, but Ezra is a day older.
Okay, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, they're all the same age. Ezra was born on Empire Day, and Luke and Leia were born the day after the inauguration of the Empire. So when Palpatine is giving his speech in front of the Senate Tower, and he tells them that the Jedi have staged an attack, an assassination attempt, and a coup. And he gives that big speech, and it ends with thunderous applause. And so Ezra is born that day.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And then Padme is still pregnant. She goes off to Mustafar, the moon planet, and then she has her child.
You killed younglings.
Yeah. So like this is how close all of this stuff ties together.
You've done that yourself. You've done that against me.
yeah, all of that. Oh man. Yeah, P Rich, you're in the Discord. What's your Discord? What's your name?
I believe it's Spider-Man 70. I haven't posted much in Discord.
Yeah.
I didn't get more. I just finally turned on another because I watched that documentary about notifications and stuff, Netflix, and it was like turn off all your notifications so you can stay off your phone. And then finally I'm like, all right, I'll turn my notifications back on for Discord so I can get more involved in the Discord channel.
yeah, he's Spider-Man 2072, and I think even if you have the Discord notifications off, someone mentions I think you still get pinged.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
You probably and Escalante would probably have some great conversations because I love Escalante. That dude is hilarious. Oh man, he is hilarious. He keeps me rolling on these Clone Wars takes. Oh man. Will we see Obi-Wan and Chewbacca interact during the Kenobi series?
And
that's an interesting proposition. Why would they? What am I missing here? Why would they interact, Trev?
Well, I was saying, wouldn't Han Solo and them be around this time? Because wouldn't he be in this maybe teens or 20s?
Yeah, because Chewbacca knows Yoda.
Yeah. Yes, we know that.
He knows Ahsoka as well. I don't recall any interaction prior to A New Hope between Obi-Wan and Chewbacca.
Before the, But I thought Obi-Wan knew of Han Solo, and that's why he kind of took him there. Maybe Han Solo. Maybe Obi-Wan just kind of, like you said, lurking in the background, just saw him, knows of him. You know what I mean? And that's why.
I wouldn't be surprised if Chewbacca knew of Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan was one of the more prominent members of the Jedi Council during that time period, and Wookiees and the Jedi have really, really strong relations. I know that Yoda has the closest connection with Tarfu and Chewbacca because they probably had some interactions like during the High Republic, which would be cool because we know Wookiees in Yoda species live for a very, very long time. So I would actually like to see that. Like, if there's some sort of thing that happens in the High Republic where Yoda has to go to Kashyyyk, and like we see Tarfu, and man, that would be fired. Like, yeah, I would like to see that now. I don't know why. Thanks, Trev. You just made me have all those connections and reminders of Yoda and the Wookiees. Like, and now I want to see that.
Yeah. Cool. That Obi-Wan show seems like it might be something pretty good.
Okay, yeah. So where are you at in Rebels?
So in Rebels, so I'm on the episode where we just get Vader coming down, and they just save.
So you're in season 2.
Yeah, I'm in season 2.
Okay, you're further ahead than JBM and Escalante. They're both in season 1.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they're both at the end of season 1, but like y'all might have to like coordinate and do some like watch parties and watch alongs with each other and figure out, because y'all are actually, if you're, so have you seen the Vader and Kanan?
No, not yet. That so Vader basically tells the governor chick to like, you're gonna have to talk to Tarkin, and then, like, and then he walks out the room, and then who's the agent guy?
Agent Callus. Okay, so you're like, yeah, all right, never mind. I won't say anything else.
Just, like, closes the door on her, is like, you do it, like, just kind of just strong armed her, like,
yeah.
Like nobody else is getting in trouble but you for this, type of thing. And so she reaches out to the rebels, and she's like, I could tell you the real reason they're here, and like, it's everything. So
no. So yeah, I'm not gonna say anything because that's why I tossed that out there. I didn't say. I just said, hey, this thing happened. Did you see that? No. All right, I'm not saying anything else. I'm not saying anything else. Oh man, I love that series though. But yeah.
I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there. I'm gonna try to
like, you're in like the first or second episode of season 2. Then you just got in there. I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Escalante, I think he was on like episode 10 of season 1, or he might have started season 2. JVM is in the last few episodes of season 1. Okay. But God, I love that series. That series is amazing.
And it's funny because when Kanan got grabbed Ezra's lightsaber, and first he came at him, was charging at him with thinking he was gonna, and he switches it to the pistol and starts shooting out. It's the look on his face was like, oh, that thing can shoot too. Just bro, like,
when I tell you, so that was one of my big disappointments also with the sequel trilogy, and I hate going back to this, but like it was such a missed opportunity because this Rebels is premiering at the same time that the sequel trilogy is premiering. So like Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, all kind of sort of tie together as far as like when they're released, right? That lightsaber that Ezra creates that can also shoot is like, I thought that Finn was going to get one of those because I was like, oh, that makes so much sense because like he's a stormtrooper. He seems to be force sensitive. He's going to get one of those lightsabers like that. So I was making all these connections because I'm like, oh, yo, they're doing this over in this series. That means they're going to tie it in here. And that never happened. And I was just like, bro, this is so disappointing.
I mean, like oh my God, the last one, Rise of Skywalker, where Finn was just going around. I got to tell Rey something. This entire time. And I was like, oh my God, like what are you trying to? We know you're you're force sensitive. Just say.
I had no idea. Like, why did they make that a thing? Like, anyway, we're not talking about that anymore.
We're out of there. So, all right, what's our next show? We got Bad Batch. We got Obi-Wan. What do we got? What else we got?
All right, so staying in this time period, let's switch to Andor. Because Andor was another one that I wasn't like high on when they announced it after Rogue One, because I'm like,
we know it's
I know the fate of these characters, so I'm like, all right, I'm not really. I'm gonna watch it.
I mean, I'm gonna watch it too, but I exactly. I felt the same way. I was like, why are you giving me a character that I know?
Yeah, I know their fate.
I know what's gonna happen to this dude. I know he, spoiler alert, everyone, dies. But it's just like, what else can you tell me? What more can you tell me? But then, sorry, my cat keeps jumping on the table here. And then I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that we're gonna be eating those words later. We're gonna get on the podcast and be like, look, guys.
Oh, I
was wrong, guys.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
I mean, well, so after Thursday, my whole tune has changed about that series. I'm really actually kind of looking forward to the series because of the amount of depth and care that they're taking with it as far as the pre-production stuff. Like they've got over, what did they say, 200 or 2,000 actors?
Yeah, they pretty much the scale
department. Yeah, when they put Neil Scanlon on screen, like that's the dude who runs the creature department at Lucasfilm. I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be this. They're putting money into this. Then, like, serious
$1 million episodes right here.
So I'm like, oh, this is about to be this is about to be crazy.
And why not give the people what they want? I think that's what I remember. I was talking to a few people. They were like, I think Disney, they're just, they're cashing in. I'm like, Yeah, they might be cashing in, but it's not
I mean,
cashing
they
in.
kind of have to.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not cashing in the sense of like what we got with the sequel trilogy. You know, that was cashing in because they just didn't have a plan and they were just doing whatever they wanted, and they were just like, you know, well, we know people are going to watch it. You know, people are going to spend money, and we're going to make billions of dollars. This is something totally different. This is like this is like the MCU of Star Wars. We're like we weaving into the cartoon, going into live action. He's seeing these characters are doing, you know what I mean? Like we saw Finnick first in live action. Now we're getting
and
her
now
in
we're
anime.
seeing it, and that would like, well, that's how what has that, but I mean, but the fact that the those are two new characters, it's a newer character already appearing in an animated TV show, like them doubling down on this continuity thing, and I'm gonna go back on something I've been harking on since I started the Sunday stream. It's the difference between fan service and continuity.
Yeah.
Like the sequel trilogy was full of fan service, and it just doesn't. It's kind of empty because if there's no payoff, if it doesn't service the story, you're just doing it in here for like nostalgic reasons.
Yeah, that's what it
And
all is about.
whereas, like, you can do something like having Anakin's pod racer be the engine for Cobb Vanth Speeder and not make a big deal about it. It's just, oh yeah, of course, he's on Tatooine, a planet full of scavengers and just resourceful people. Of course, they're going to repurpose stuff. Like, he probably found that thing in a junkyard and was like, "Is this still working? Oh, I'm gonna turn this into a speeder." Like, he has no idea. You know what I'm saying? That's not like, that's just continuity. You know, and it works like it has a different impact. It resonates differently. Like, that's the type of stuff that we're looking for. Then Cobb Vanth himself being in an insert of in a book that hardly anyone read within the Star Wars fandom. Like, he's for them to pull that character in and put it into the Mandalorian, like all of that stuff, like it matters,
Yeah, it's amazing and I love it. Yeah, I'm totally on board that. And like I said,
so back to this Andor series thing, because and then I strongly feel like, I hope that the Andor series ties into Rebels, because of Trev's point here. There's no coordination until the end of season 1 of Rebels, and that's something I want to see with this Andor series. Is like them really trying to get this thing going, like the foundations of the Rebel Alliance. Like, there was no alliance until like the Rebel series. Like, there was just a bunch of cells out there causing mayhem.
And I really hope they explore the darkness in it, like you said, like like we saw in Rogue One, where he just like that dude straight in the back, and he's just like no loose ends. And I really hope they dive into what I hope they struggle with his. I wish we see that character transformation throughout his series, where he's like he's doing it for good intentions, but then he starts to, you see that dark side of him come out, being like, I trusted a guy last time like this with this information. I let him live, and then this happened. You know what I mean? And you see that kind of something that makes him that cold-hearted killer, later in the, that we see in Rogue One.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, they can't afford to be that, because if they make a mistake like that, we know how brutal the Empire can be. Like, if they find out anything, like, it's over, like, before it even begins. So like, they can't take risk like that. So he's gonna have to be that neutral kind of good character, where like his intentions and what the Rebel Alliance are trying to do are good, but it's not always going to be pure, and it's not always going to be clean, and it's not always going to be the most noble of actions. And I guess I'm assuming that he's attached to the Masasi group on Yavin. I don't know how long they've been on Yavin. Maybe we'll see the base on Dantooine that Leia alludes to in A New Hope, because there was a base on Dantooine at some point, but it had been abandoned. They even say that, so maybe that's where they're operating out of initially. So that'd be kind of cool. We hadn't seen Dantooine on screen ever. The only time we've seen Dantooine is in KOTOR.
KOTOR,
the Jedi Temple. So it'd be cool to see that planet. That's just Aquarian settlement. Just cool. Like, you know, just these back worlds that don't have like too much technology, hard to find.
Mhm.
Exactly the type of place where a Rebel Alliance would try to
All
start.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with that Andor
What do you think?
series.
When was the kind of? I mean, like, we didn't even get a trailer. We kind of got like obviously they've been shooting BTS. I'm thinking pre-COVID. That's a lot of
Yeah.
pre-COVID stuff.
Yeah. So
Before.
yeah, and they started this before they created the volume. So a lot of this was already like they were doing this. I think they're doing it at Pinewood. I want to say up in
Okay.
over in London.
Okay.
I know they're shooting in London, and they usually go to Pinewood to shoot.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's where they're shooting that at.
Okay.
Um,
Episodes. Yeah, I think me personally. Yeah, I would see it being a limited series, 6 to 8 episodes. I mean, you could probably do 2 episodes depending on when the show takes place, I guess. Because
Yeah.
it's going to have to end with him on that last mission that we start off seeing him in, in
Yeah.
Rogue One.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that could. Yeah, that would actually be cool. I mean, they could. I think they can leave it open to that and
yeah,
see how popular the series gets. Like,
yeah, I'm sure they have
I
a whole
can't.
plan.
I can't recall it. Like, what year in the time period does this series take place? But I mean, it's all running concurrent with the Obi-Wan series, the Bad Batch stuff. Like all of these series are happening at the same time. Um, the well, actually, I was going to say Thrawn possibly. Oh, Trev and Callisto in the comments earlier talking about one Lando making an appearance.
Yeah,
I could see him popping up in any of these series. I mean, he's in Rebels.
yeah.
So I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, I think they still got Donald Glover on. Oh, he should be in the Lando series.
Yeah, hold on. Let's jump into the next one. So is that live action or is that animation?
That's all live action. Like I think the only animated series is the Star Wars Visions, which is in a traditional 2D anime style done by the Japanese artist.
Okay.
And well, the droid story might be animated.
Okay.
The Bad Batch, of course, is animated, but I think those are the only ones. Acolyte is supposed to be live action, which is in the end of the High Republic. Which I mean, that's an interesting thing with where that takes place.
Yeah.
But also Saul Guerrero popping up in Andor would be something I could totally see, getting Forrest Whitaker to come back and reprise his role as Saul Guerrero with him actually with all of his limbs, because we see him in
Jedi
Fallen Order. Yeah, and he's got his chest plate on, so he's taking a few hits. He's becoming more machine than man, and it would make sense for him to pop up in that Andor series. I mean, more so than the Bad Batch series, of course, but I think I can see him being in both.
That's all. I mean, him too. You know what I mean? Brutal people. You know what I mean? Just by the time you get to Rogue One, and it's just like they're making this Death Star weapon. We know what's going on. We got to get these plans. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't trust nobody anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing some crazy stuff to like get secrets. Like, they're pretty much on that Empire level of like torture. You know what I mean? And just
definitely the partisans. Like, the partisans don't do that. Like, they're like, you can't defeat the system by following its rules. Like, that's Guerrero's whole thing. Like, so Coop, what do you think of the what's the deal with the Oscar Isaac image and the concept art for this past episode? Oscar Isaac was in concept art. Why was he in concept art? This is the first I've heard of it.
That's not for real.
Can you put the image in the Discord?
Let's see it in the Discord.
Drop that in the Star Wars Discord. I want to see that. Or in the Star Wars chat.
And Trev, there is a Lando series that got announced.
Yeah, so that's awesome. It's Lando Calrissian. Like, come on, it's the coolest dude in the entire galaxy. Like, of course and Billy D and both of them are supposed to be in that series.
What?
Both versions of Lando. Yeah, for the rumors is that like it's the older Lando retelling the stories of his younger self, and so both of them will actually be in the
Oh,
series.
dude, that'd be so dope, man. Like he's playing the ultimate poker game. And he's
Yeah,
just like,
have you seen the Solo movie?
yeah, I've seen a Solo movie. Yep.
You know when he's in the cockpit doing the Calrissian Chronicles, and
Oh
he's
yeah, yeah.
cataloging. Yeah, that's basically what the series is.
Oh,
But
that'd
it's
be
him, his older self, and I think he's supposed to be with what's the girl from the Rise of Skywalker? I think her name is Jana, the black
the
black
black chick.
girl, the
Yeah, yeah.
black former senator. Yeah, they're I think they're supposed to be going off together. I think they're alluding to there might be a connection between her and
Uh,
him,
father daughter type thing. Yeah.
possibly.
Does he stay
So
there?
yeah,
Oh no. Chewie and Ray have the Millennium Falcon, right?
bro, we have no idea who has the Millennium Falcon. We're assuming that Ray has the
Yeah.
Falcon. I'm assuming that Chewie isn't leaving the Falcon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess Han. Han probably didn't write a will. I don't see Han Solo writing a will like that. Just like that's way too much. That's way too much. Like he didn't live life like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that Lando series could be interesting. You don't have to sell me on the Lando series. Like that's where I'm at with it. I'm going to watch it.
We
That's
literally
gonna be a
characters in the entire Star Wars, guys. You got Lando and Mace Windu, and you kill one of them. So,
yeah, and then you can still bring in Alden Ehrenreich and to be the younger Han Solo, like in certain episodes. Like I want to see it continue. I like the story of Solo. It was just too damn quick. Like it was like almost a patchwork job, and I stand on this that movie should have been a series on Disney Plus. It should have been a live action series on
Solo.
the adventures of Han Solo, and
that would be
it would have been fire. Like it can't take itself too serious. Like it's Han Solo. Like it'd been hilarious. Like who doesn't want to see that?
Yeah, and it would have been like Star Wars. It would have been like Indiana Jones and Star Wars.
Right, exactly. That's all that you had to do. Like Han Solo going to running like smuggling missions.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You have that, and that's what you do. You make him have that smuggle of the week. What's he smuggling this time? You know what I mean? What's Chew and Han getting into this week, guys? Find out next time. You know what I mean?
him making a series of bad decisions and lucking out. Like that's all this is. It has to be. It's not that complicated.
And he's coming complicated. You could have him have run-ins with Boba Fett. You know what I mean? Everybody, every little scumbag that you see him, and it's so funny because it's just like, even in Force Awakens, where he's just like he's still willing to he's just dealing, and he's just like Kaja Gang and all these other people are on there.
Like all of these, all of that.
You owe me money. He's just like, I still owe you money. Like what? From when? 10,000. You know what I mean? Like you could have had him in. Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, him smuggling, scoring big, and then gambling it all away, and then all of a sudden getting into debt, and then he's got to pay that off, and like that's Han Solo's life. Like we don't have high expectations for this man's like younger self. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what? No, it's just a series of bad decisions. That's all his life was.
And that would have been fun, like you said. The movie, it was one of those things where the nostalgia factor of Han Solo's name is what they were like trying to get. They were just like, and I think now that they read what they're realizing now is that like, okay, Han Solo probably would have worked better as a show. I think they're going to start introducing some of those things back in, and they're not going to bring the Han Solo movie back. So, but they still wanted that Lando character. They still wanted him. So they're like, let's get that.
Yeah, I mean Donald. Yeah, because Donald Glover was like a highlight of that entire movie. Like
he was
like
the best part of that movie.
Yeah, he stole the show.
Mm-hmm.
And of course he was going to continue, and he's a very talented. And I think you can use the Lando show to bring back all and see what the fan reception is. If they get a good couple episodes of Lando and Han in the Lando show, then that opens up the door for a Han Solo show. Yeah, and continue that story from the movie. You don't have to retcon anything, just continue it, but just do it on the volume in live action, make it small and like almost Deadpool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't take it so serious.
Yeah, and speaking on like these patch jobs for movies, like were you like how when we think about it, the two movies that had the patchwork were Han Solo and Rogue One. So Rogue One, me personally, I enjoyed it. You know, I
Rogue
loved
One blew me away. Rogue
Yeah.
One made me realize that they can actually make good Star Wars movies.
Exactly. And so my thought process was, how dark was actual Rogue One before? Because that was one of the biggest complaints, like I heard before, was that Rogue One, the reason why they like went back and redid a little bit of it was because they saw the cut of it and they said it was too dark, like it was too like
Yeah, so yeah, it's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So it was definitely, it had a darker ending for the heroes because I believe Vader kills all of them by hand. And that's what they changed. Yeah. That's what they
see him to slaughter a ton of rebel, soldiers. I mean, like he was just going around force pulling people. Who cares if Vader went around and destroyed them?
Yeah, but it was basically that scene, but with them instead of the random soldiers. So it would have been like people. Disney kind of was like, "Whoa, this is too much. Like we can't have the heroes going out like this." Yeah, it would have been interesting. It would have been interesting. I didn't hate it though, but there were some other things that they changed that I think were for the better. With that cut. So I'm satisfied with what we got, and that Vader scene was still like.
So she did. So she posted up the concept art. Okay.
Oh wow, that is. So they probably it's probably just concept art from. It looks like from the Rise of Skywalker, because this skiff looks exactly like that same skiff that they used on Pisana.
Mm-hmm.
When with the jetpack, when they were on that desert planet, and that's what this looks like. It looks like concept art of that, and they probably just took the ship because they didn't use it to make those pirate ships. That's probably what that is.
Gotcha.
That's my theory on it. But they also took some stuff from the Force Awakens and have incorporated it into the High Republic. So I guess we can get into the High Republic stuff now. Speaking of, where is that? Did I pull that image? But yeah, so Han Solo's that freighter that he was piloting prior to him finding the Millennium Falcon by chance.
Oh yeah,
which whole opening sequence that we didn't like critique too heavily while we were watching the movie because we were just happy that Star Wars was back. But it makes no sense. Yeah. So like that freighter, they've actually brought into the High Republic. They used some of that concept art from The Force Awakens to create some of the Nile ships, and that freighter was one of them.
Okay.
And we also, let me go to pull this up, share my screen. So here's where we can go to speculation time before we get into the Rangers of the New Republic, because I think that has some great implications. Hey, appreciate it. We got 8 people watching. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Leave a like down below, and if you want to support the channel, I got a link pinned to the chat where you can donate to our coffee page. It's $3. You can, minimum, if you feel like you want to, support the channel further than a subscription and a like. That's how you can do it. But other than that, we appreciate you sharing the video. That helps us tremendously. Like I said, help tremendously. And always subscriptions. We aren't going to complain about any of those things. All help the channel grow. So here is something that I wanted to talk about. Let me get my notes. But so this is some new concept art that came out this week for the High Republic. One thing I want to say about the High Republic is they are putting a lot of time and energy in the concept art and investing into this series a lot more than something that they would traditionally do for a publication.
It's a novel, correct? It's not like comic books or anything. It's just strict.
No, it's novels, comic books. It's all publications, like full across the board. Yeah,
gotcha. Cool. Awesome.
That's what it started as, but I don't believe it's going to stay that for long.
Right.
I think they're just kind of sort of testing testing the waters, engaging the interest level.
Dude, I'm
Um,
loving this concept art, man. We got some, you got some black Jedis over here, But there is a race of there's the alien species, right? That's just like
yeah, so yeah,
which
and that's who I want to bring our attention to. The lady over here with the purple lightsaber. See if I can't get her name.
because she was
Her name is Ty York, and this is a brand new concept that they're introducing. She is a lightsaber for hire, so she is a mercenary
wow, okay.
that has a checkered past, and that's basically all they've said about it. She's not. They don't call her a Jedi. They don't say
Mhm.
anything like that. So that's an interesting idea because it harkens back to something that I think me and JBM were talking about with Grogu and Ahsoka being sort of like these Ronin nomadic type of Jedi
Mhm.
going forward after the Mandalorian series. And I found this and I'm like, yo, this chick, this could be really interesting. So this is the novel that follows after the events of Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, which is the first book in the High Republic series, and that's
Is
coming
that
out.
out already?
No, it comes out. So Light of the Jedi comes out in January. I don't know the exact date. It's early January though, and this is called The Rising Storm, which
Okay.
will come out July 6th of 2021, and it follows
Comic
some
book or novel?
characters. What's that?
Comic book or novel for this?
Novel. This is a
Novel.
novel. Yeah. Um, and it follows the adventures of these characters, and like I'm very interested in what they intend to do. Like I think I've been telling people this: go support these novels and these publications in the High Republic if you want to see this in live action,
Mhm.
because I think if it's critically acclaimed and the fans love it and they support it and they get behind it, I think we'll see this pop up on Disney Plus. Um, because I want to see these adventures. Like the more they reveal, the more interested I become.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, and if you're not sold on this High Republic stuff, just go back alone and go watch the Old Republic CG trailers for the game, because that's literally all of this in its highest, purest form. And it's amazing. I
Yeah,
love every
like
one of those movies. I love every single one of those story CGI trailers. And to see, if you were to see that in live action, oh my God, it'd be amazing.
oh, we got JBM in the chat. What's good? What's up? He said, "What we cooking, man? Hey, look, I'm thinking this brew is strong. We got some we got some good stuff cooking over here. Here's a concept, another piece of concept art from the High Republic of a Jedi starfighter, or what they call the Jedi Vector.
Oh, that looks sick.
Um, it looks you can see the early influence of like that arc fighter from the Clone Wars and the Z95 Headhunter, which is the uh I almost said prequel, the precursor to the X-wing. So like you can see all of the design connections and influences
Yeah.
in these ships. Um, this is a concept. So this was from the Last Jedi. This was a concept for the New Republic bomber
Okay.
that they didn't end up using, and now they're going to use it for the High Republic. Um, I believe it's called the Long Spear. So it's one of the Republic military ships
Okay.
during this time period.
Wow. Okay.
This is also concept art for the sequel trilogy, but this is going to be the Nile ships. So the enemies, like they wanted to find and use some designs that were a little bit more rugged
Mm-hmm.
and just rough around the edges that kind of reflected the temperament of the Nile, and the ship definitely does that. Like, how familiar are you with the Nile and what these
Nothing, man. You got
stories
it.
are?
Just lay it on
So
me. Lay it on me.
they are like this rogue group of pirates
Mm-hmm.
that are kind of sort of they're not invaders, but they're just raiders. Like they're just causing havoc in the Republic. In the Republic right now is in an expansion period. Like they're growing, they're leaving the core, they're colonizing the mid rim
Mhm.
and other reaches. And so uh, the Nile are kind of this force that's resistant to Republic expansion, and they do something um, which hadn't been done before. They're somehow able to disrupt hyperspace, and they
Oh wow.
use hyperspace in a way that is dangerous. And they cause this event called the Great Disaster, which
Mhm.
there's a Republic transport leaving the core worlds going to the colonies, and it is uh, torn to pieces when an object is thrown into the hyperspace lane, and they're forced basically to veer off course. But that course correction traveling at hyper speed
Mhm.
causes the ship to break itself apart.
Wow.
And the debris from the ship, there's no survivors. The debris from the ship basically is uh, forever scattered through this hyperspace lane. It causes uh, all types of damage. It destroys other ships in its wake. It land, pieces of the ship land on planets, things of that nature. It's just a fuck. It's a horrible disaster. I almost
So
cursed.
so basically, pieces of this ship is landing on planets, like going at hyperspeed, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's
and
like asteroids hitting places, like that. Is it
basically, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's basically like objects traveling at the speed of light.
kind of what we saw in was that Last Jedi when she just did the hyperspace, went the ship straight through everybody. This
Yeah,
that type of destruction, just like crazy.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, Trev, there is hyperspace. They just don't have nav computers. Like it's not a pre-coursed, pre-charted destination that they can punch into a computer. Droids have to manually pilot the ships in hyperspace. So they can travel at hyperspeed, but it's just more dangerous because these courses are uh for the most part not uh they're dangerous
Mm.
to put it like um the burn. How much do you want to bet the burn in Discovery is caused by the red suit? Wow, oh wait, Discovery. Wait, when did we start talking about Discovery? I missed this. Oh, okay. All right. So I was like, what is going on? Sounds exactly what Star Wars or Star Trek Discovery is doing this season. Ah, okay.
Mm.
What season is Discovery on? Because I watched the first season and actually enjoyed it, but I just kind of never went back to it.
I thought they were on their second season or third, right? I know it just started recently. I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I would it probably second or third, right? I can't be too far behind.
Yeah, I'm pretty far behind because haven't
Oh
watched
wow, they're
any.
on season 3. Wow, okay.
Oh wow, okay, so it's been a couple of years.
Yeah. Wow. All right. I really did like that series though. JBM says he likes the new mic. Compliments.
Oh yeah, yeah, It's my old. It's a new. It's an old mic. I just finally got a stand for it and stuff like that.
Uh,
Like, but
he got the
I
setup.
yeah, I got the setup now. That's the yeah. I've had the mic when I'm on like when I've been doing Steam and stuff like that and Discord, PC gaming. But now I got the whole mics, I got the whole stand and everything. It was only $29. I was like, oh, why not?
Oh, yeah, that's not bad at all. That's not bad. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get back on track. So
Okay.
now let's round out the High Republic stuff. We're
Okay.
doing good on time.
Okay.
And The Acolyte is another series that they announced.
I don't know. Are we going to see Palpatine, young Palpatine in this?
It's a it's a
Plagueis and all
possibility.
that stuff.
It's a possibility that at some point we could see Palpatine. I don't think initially because it is a female centric um story. So I think the Acolyte will probably be Bane's apprentice because I forgot what her name was. But Bane had an apprentice after he created the rule too, and she was a female. and she was like one of the most like powerful Sith. And then she had an apprentice, I think his name was Tenebrin,
Mhm.
who was Plagueis' master, and
Mm.
Plagueis was Palpatine's master. So
We might see that
there,
whole
yeah,
type.
and all this whole lineage of and it being at the tail end of the High Republic means that so this the High Republic is 200 years prior to um the Phantom Menace. So if
Okay.
it's at the end, depending on how far at the end, like it's going to determine like where we are uh in that timeline. Like, you
Yeah.
know, like Palpatine is definitely on the picture. I would imagine that the series would lead to, or at least at the end, tease Palpatine. I
Yeah.
think we'll see Plagueis. Like, there's no way we're not going to see Plagueis. He's
Yeah.
alive. He's around during this time period. Um, yeah, and like we got to see how the Sith are able to dodge the Jedi
Yeah.
and the prying eyes of the Jedi at this time.
Mhm. Okay. Cool. All right.
So it's definitely so yeah, it's definitely supposed to be. It's gonna be interesting. Like I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
See, I want to see more. I want to know more about who the acolyte
Yeah.
is, like who the characters are, what's the plot. Uh, I want to know how dark it's going to be because if it is, I mean, acolyte is the Sith version of a Padawan. So, like, I need that to be dark. Like, I don't need this to be.
Yeah.
I
I
need
heard it
this.
chopping people in half, all
Yeah,
left and right, doing
I
some
need
dark
the
stuff.
yeah the brutality of the Sith and how they operate, and you know the rule of two, and you know there can only be you know only be two, like one who has the power and one who craves it. Like that's it. Like
Yeah.
so, yeah, give me that.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for that series. And it's just gonna get people to do, and I guarantee you that show will be a hit. You give the people what they want, it's gonna be a hit. You do don't water it down. Don't you know what I mean? It's just give it to me, just raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just I need it. You know, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Trev says he thinks he might be a Night Sister. I don't know if it's gonna be a Night Sister only because unless like I'm not familiar with the Night Sisters calling their uh uh learners acolytes. Not to
Mm,
say that's not a thing, but it is not. Maybe that's something that's appeared in canon before, and I'm just not aware of it. But I don't know. It could be. Um, it says Mother Talzin would be an interesting uh person to follow if that's the case. Like if let's say she was a an acolyte at one point under the tutelage of a Sith Lord during this time period, I could see her. That's how she learned her dark magic powers. But I kind of sort of feel like all that's been passed down um, through the years of the Night Sisters on Dathomir. Like I just feel like that's just something kind of like they remind me of the Sith species on Korriban, who were these dark side Force users. They weren't the Sith that we know, but they were these beings that were um, basically Force shaman and
mm,
used the dark side of the Force and were very knowledgeable about the dark side of the Force, more so than the Dark Jedi who encountered them um, thousands of years ago. And this is all legends, but um, just so those of you who are out there, if you didn't know, the Sith weren't always the enemy of the Jedi. Like the Sith were at one point a species of red-skinned aliens, and they had these. They were on the planet Korriban, which was um,
we saw a little
had a
bit of that.
dark had a dark nature,
Yeah.
which I think now in canon, Korriban is now Morban,
Mm,
and but the dark side of the Force is strong on the planet, and they use the dark side a lot, like just as a society. And then when the Dark Jedi were exiled, um, they punched in like random coordinates and into their nav computer, and when they emerged out of hyperspace, they were in orbit above the planet Korriban, and they crash landed, and then they confronted the Sith species. They killed the leader, and then enslaved the Sith population, and then over time, the
Mm,
Dark Jedi and the Sith became one, and then that's how the Sith Order was born.
mm. And do we see a little bit of that in that planet on Order 66, or is that a different planet?
Nope, that's a different planet. That's Mustafar.
Oh no, the one that you travel to with the you encountered a Jedi who crashed there during Order 66, and he kind of the darkness of the
Oh
place.
no, that's Dathomir, but that is a
Dathomir.
Dathomir is a similar, yeah, it's a similar planet. Like as far as its nature, it's uh aligned with the dark side of the Force. It's strong
Gotcha.
there on the planet.
Gotcha.
Um,
And the people and the inhabitants, they don't really use the Force; they use like sorcery, right? Because they were using sorcery in that on that
right.
planet. The
It
encounters.
is the Force, but it's more sorcery. Like um the Force is dynamic, so
Yeah.
it's not just like how we've come accustomed to using it from the lens of the Sith and the Jedi. There are way more powers and abilities that you're capable of learning through the Force, such as the Sith alchemy and the Night Sister
Mm-hmm.
alchemy. So yeah, like it's all the Force though, but it's dark in nature,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it's light in nature. So yeah, that's
Okay. Oh.
that's all I've got for that series. I don't know how it's going to tie in, other than we could possibly see young Palpatine, which I would
Mm-hmm.
hope we would see in that Acolyte series.
What about the novels? Do you think that our viewers should have to read the novels before probably watching that show? Is it probably going to be that type of thing where you're reading all the novels and then it like leads into like that? Oh, if you read the
It's
book,
going to be connected.
and then,
It's going to
yeah,
be
okay,
connected, but so it'll be kind of like there'll be subtle connections. Like it won't be spoiler heavy. It'll just there'll be some
like you
things that are
wouldn't,
probably mentioned
yeah.
that are elaborated on maybe in one of the novels, but
Mhm.
you wouldn't. It's not going to lose you if you
Yeah, you wouldn't need to read those novels to be caught
no
up when you watch the show.
no
Okay, yeah.
yeah, like whatever they reference, they'll explain enough so that you are up on whatever it is you need to know in order to
Mhm.
continue following that story. And if you
Okay.
want to know more, then you can go and get more information in those other books. That's how
Book.
they've been handling it thus far. Like with Ahsoka, like us, Ahsoka popping up in the Mandalorian was well received by fans and by people who don't even know who that character is. Like after she premiered, like the viewership for the Clone Wars animated show like spiked
Wow.
significantly. So like they don't have to over explain anything that is already in canon. Like, just make sure that you use the character or whatever to service that story. And if you want to know more, we've got content that you can go and
Yeah. Expand
on
on.
your own.
Yeah.
So moving into the current timeline of the Mandalorian, we've got the Ahsoka show, and we've got Rangers of the New Republic.
Okay. Are you kind of disappointed that we didn't get any Boba Fett news? Or me personally, I think when I didn't hear any Boba Fett news, I think either two things. Next week we're gonna see some darkness. We're gonna, you know what I mean, and we're gonna see some. We're not gonna be too happy
Mhm.
what happens to the slave, or slave one, or Boba, or it's just gonna be, the show is just called Mandalorian, so it could be any Mandalorian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could, Boba Fett could just join the crew. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, my theory on it right now is that they didn't mention anything because they didn't want to spoil anything for the show. Like
Yeah.
right now, we have no idea what the fate of Boba Fett's going to be, and
Mm.
if they announce the show, then that could confirm or
He's alive.
deny some things, right?
Yeah.
So I think they just didn't announce it because they don't want to spoil the ending. Since like imagine them announcing a Boba Fett led series during the same time period as the Mandalorian.
Mm.
2 episodes before or an episode before the finale. Like
All
what?
right.
No, man. Wait till after the season ends
Yeah.
and then announce that. And then like now we got more things to look forward to.
All right. Yeah, that's true.
Now with the announcement of the Ahsoka show, I think that pretty much puts a nail in the coffin. We're not going to see her this week.
No.
That show is running concurrent. Yeah, she's alive for those who may be curious, but I don't think that we'll see Ahsoka in the finale episode. I believe that she will be off on her mission
Mhm.
that is alluded to in the season 4 finale of Star Wars Rebels. Without getting into any spoilers, like there's a thing
So
she has to do.
So my question now is, do you think now that we got the show announced that they've already been filming the show? Because obviously, see, this
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
this Mandalorian season 2 was probably wrapped up earlier this year. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They probably finished that, and and kudos to Rosario Dawson, who just she kept all this under wraps. You know what I mean?
yeah,
No leaks. She kept her mouth closed. You know what I mean? No
yeah,
set photos. None of that. She's just
yeah.
just
They actually filmed that scene. I believe right after they wrapped, or while they were shooting the first season.
oh, her
That
scene that.
her episode, yeah, they shot that while they were still shooting season 1. She
Oh,
was
okay.
actually on set during season 1 doing screen tests. So I think that they probably shot that either as soon as season 1 wrapped
Mhm.
production, or like not too long after that. Like that,
Like last year,
either
when did
way, 2019. They shot that in 2019.
yeah.
Basically, like yeah,
Well, when did hold on? Mandalorian season 1 last October, correct?
yeah, last October.
So that means they would have had to shoot it in 2018, the
Yeah,
show.
2018. Mm-hmm.
In early 2019. So wow. I mean, when did the series
Or at
when did
least
the
was
when did the fan picture come out of her where the boss
oh, that was
logic?
years ago.
Yeah,
That was
was
years
that you?
before. Yeah,
Okay.
that was actually while Rebels was on air.
Oh
Like
wow.
when they started, yeah, when they did that pitch. When Ahsoka popped back up in Rebels, because that was a question at the time.
Mhm.
Um After that, then speculation went wild. They I want to say it's like 2016 when someone pitched the idea of, like, they took, I think, the a picture of Rosario from Daredevil when she's I think one of the character images. She's
Mhm.
looking over her shoulder, and they painted her orange like Ahsoka, and then put the head markings on her,
Oh yeah.
did, like, that was the fan casting, and she quote retweeted it and
Mhm.
was like, "I would love to play Ahsoka," like, because she knew exactly who the character was. She was a fan,
Yeah.
and then the
Mhm.
internet went crazy because it's like, one, it's Rosario Dawson, like,
Yeah.
and then two, she's a fan of the show and of the Clone Wars, and she knows who this character is, and she was
Game
like
over.
110% on board. It was
Yeah.
like, yeah, they better make that happen. Like that, everybody in the fandom was like, yeah, this better happen. Like if they ever bring Ahsoka into live action, like if Rosario isn't your first pick, then you're making a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? Uh, yeah. So there's going to be a lot of tie-ins
How you think
with
that show's gonna turn
Mandalorian.
out?
That show's going to be great. If you think the number of connections and characters that they pulled for the Mandalorian in this season is going to be crazy, wait till you see that Ahsoka show.
I mean,
Like
what do you think? You think limited series? You think that 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons?
that show's going to last. That show's going to that's going to be at least 3 to 4 seasons, I would say,
Because
minimum.
I mean, she might be on this one mission, but what's going to drive her to keep going after she's completed that mission? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there are some things going on in the unknown regions, not just
Okay.
with
So there's some other stuff. Okay.
there's some other things that the Ahsoka show is going to explore.
Okay.
Without getting into any Rebels spoilers, the Thrawn novels have
Mhm.
introduced an enemy to the Chiss ascendancy known as the Grisk, who are basically the replacement for the Yuzong Vong. Um, if you don't know who the Yuzong Vong are, they were this enemy that emerged in the galaxy, came from the unknown regions. They actually came from a neighboring galaxy, and invaded. And
Mhm.
this is an extended universe, and this takes place like um, after the original Thrawn trilogy. Um, and the Empire and New Republic. The Empire is finally kind of sort of exterminated. Um, the New Republic in that final battle against the Imperial remnant is
Mhm.
basically weakened, and then this force of the known as the Yuzong Vong invade the galaxy while the largest governments are at their weakest state, right?
Yeah.
Um, and they pose a quite significant threat in that series. They were resistant to the force, like they were unaffected by force powers and force abilities, which made them a quite an adversary for Luke Skywalker and his uh, Jedi Order. Um,
Okay.
wild stuff. But the Grisk seem to be that, but they aren't resilient to the Force. Like that's not something that they'll have. But they seem to be a an interesting adversary that make Thrawn and the Chiss very nervous. Um, if you Thrawn is a character, he's a tactician. One, if you for those who aren't familiar with the character, I've talked about him before. He's a merger between Spock and Sherlock Holmes, but he's got this brilliant tactical mind. And any opponent that makes him nervous is a problem because
Mm.
he's not one that is going to like shy away from a strong adversary or opponent. Like he welcomes that challenge, but he really feels like the Grisk are a threat to the galaxy, not only to the Chiss but to everyone else in the
Yeah.
galaxy. And he's actually in the known regions, and has made an alliance with the Empire and has agreed to help Palpatine because he wants to forge an alliance between the Empire and the Chiss Ascendancy to take on the Grisk. Because he sees them as that big of a threat. Like he thinks that he
Yeah.
needs that the Empire, the might of the Empire, and the might of the Ascendancy to
Mm.
take these people on. So I'm
Wow.
like, if they're setting that up in the unknown regions, I could totally see. I think that's what the Ahsoka series is going to be about.
Wow. And her just kind of stopping that whole, like, empire, them just,
I think
just
that would explain why we don't see her in the sequel trilogy. Is because she's out in the unknown regions with Thrawn,
and them
um,
just, yeah, wow.
trying to combat the Grisk because um, Thrawn in that original Timothy Zahn trilogy back in the 90s, he
So
was a part of
Chris, yeah,
he was
and
the
okay,
leader of the Empire of the Hand, right?
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Empire of the Hand um, was basically the original version of the First Order. Thrawn was in
Okay,
command of it. The Emperor left him in command because he trusted him because he felt like Thrawn was the one who was most loyal to him.
okay.
Um, I think we're taking bits and pieces of that. I think that's why Ahsoka was looking for Thrawn. There's another reason why she's looking for Thrawn, but the magistrate working directly with Thrawn, who's also uh, helped the Empire build their fleet,
Mhm.
tells me that I think that I think that Thrawn has employed her to help the Chiss Ascendancy build star destroyers because um, they need that firepower.
Mm.
Um, Thrawn, the Chiss Ascendancy, I would liken them to the ancient Chinese dynasties that they were really isolationist, and
Yeah.
because they were isolationist, they fell behind technologically with the rest of the world.
Mhm.
There wasn't information coming in and out. They traded with so few people. They were basically just in their own bubble, and so they fell behind, and that's what inevitably helped allow them to be conquered and to
Mm.
be taken out by the British. I think that's where the Chiss ascendancy is. Thrawn sees that, he recognizes that. Um, he finds like they don't have the same shield technology that like the Republic and the Separatists and the Empire has on their ships. Like they don't have that type of technology. They have a different shielding technology, but it's not as advanced as theirs is. They don't have navicomputers and the hyperdrive uh, capabilities of the known galaxy.
Yeah.
They
But
don't
getting
have a
to
lot of
their
the weapons
planet
and armament. Hmm?
but I remember you saying getting to their planet is a nightmare anyway,
Yeah,
also.
yeah. Well, that whole entire region of
Yeah.
space is pretty much blocked off.
Yeah.
Um, very hard to navigate,
Yeah.
and that's sort of force them into isolation.
Is that what we kind of see? Actually, do we see that in Rise of the
in
Skywalker?
in Rise of Skywalker, they're passing into the chaos. Like that's why it you can't use a computer to navigate that. Like you have to almost be like you have to be a force sensitive pretty much to navigate that, or do jump by jump navigation, which takes centuries. Like well, not literal centuries, but just takes a long time because it's just so volatile in that area of space. Like you got supernovas and stars colliding, asteroids. Like it's just not a safe place to travel.
Yeah.
So all of that plays a factor, and I'm fairly certain that Thrawn will appear in that Ahsoka. I would say to like a 99% that Thrawn is going to appear in that series.
Who are we thinking for live action version of Thrawn? Who are we thinking? Who's the cast? Who's our cast?
From what I understand, Lars Mikkelsen is going to reprise his role as Thrawn because he voices Thrawn in the Rebels animation.
Okay.
And he's like, I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5", and he's an actor, so he fits the stature. Like it's a perfect casting.
Kind of like what they did for Bo-Katan, just
yeah, exactly. Kate Sackhoff is perfect casting for the voice, and also it's a bonus that she is a bona fide actress.
Yeah.
Same with Lars. Like so, and I've already got his voice implanted on my brain as far as Thrawn goes. When I read Thrawn books, I hear Lars Mikkelsen's voice. Like I can't part the two. So
I haven't gotten there yet. So I'll just when I get to that part in Rebels, I'll make sure.
Yeah, and that's also another thing that I want. I hope they have plans to make sure that Timothy Zahn is involved in the writing of this character, because even in Rebels, he's not how Thrawn writes him. Like reading how Thrawn writes, I mean not Thrawn, but Zahn writes Thrawn is like it's a treat. Like he understands that character. It is his character. He created Thrawn. So if he says he's available, but no one's reached out to him, like he didn't even know that they were going to name drop Thrawn in Mandalorian. So I'm hoping that someone has reached out to him and they're going to work with him to create and write the dialogue for this character in live action, because he's the only one that knows how to execute that character.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, so that's where I'm at personally. Like I'm hyped to see Thrawn in live action, but if Zahn is not involved in the pre-production in the writing of the character, I'm not so certain how that's going to turn out.
All right. Okay.
That's my
hesitation. Yeah. I mean, it's the hesitation, but then, like I said, in a year, you'd be like, I was wrong, guys. It was great. Yeah. But I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be involved somehow.
Yeah. I hope so. Because I mean, if he's like what we got in Rebels, like the portrayal was good, but it wasn't great. And I want great for Thrawn in live action, because he is that caliber villain or in character. Like he is one of the most popular villains in the Star Wars universe. I mean, especially for non-Force users. Like I rank him like top 3 easily, and that's Vader, Palpatine, Vader, and then Thrawn in that order.
Wow. Okay, cool.
That order, because he's that much of a problem.
Yeah. Cool. Jeez. I need to get on the Rebels. I need to finish watching it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And he's a different type of character for the Empire, because he's not brutal. He's just a smart tactician. Like he's a brilliant man, and he also he looks out for those that he commands. So he doesn't just throw his troops out into harm's way.
Yeah.
He plans out and he stages his attacks. Like he gets to understand his enemy before he attacks.
Yeah.
Like he's a chess master. Like when he makes a move, he understands all of the possible moves that you can make next. And so he's already defeated you before you've even begun the engagement. Like that's the type of dude he is. Like you think I'm exaggerating, but if you read any of the novels, like he's almost unbeatable.
almost unbeatable.
Yeah, almost like because in the original Thrawn trilogy, the way he dies is trash, and I think they wrote him out because of how effective he was.
Mm.
The way he dies is a total like someone at Lucasfilm was like, yeah, we need to take this dude out because he's a problem. That's basically what happened. That's my theory, at least.
Okay, so what's our next show? What we got? What else we got for Star Wars? What's our other show?
So the last one is the Rangers of the New Republic. And I'm not sure. Well, I know Cara Dune is going to be involved in this series. I'm pretty sure we'll get those the pilot that gave her that medallion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure we'll see some other characters pop
Do you think
up.
they were setting it up for maybe who's our guy in the last episode? Our ex-Imperial sniper. You know,
He could possibly be someone that they bring into that series. It wouldn't surprise me if they brought him into it.
Bill's character.
Yeah, Mayfield.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not too hype on that series. Just because I need to know more. Like the closer we get to the sequel trilogy, that's going to tie directly into that, and so it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't have an optimistic outlook on that.
Yeah, the only thing I could see it being, I was talking to somebody else about that too, where I was just like, I don't see New Republic Rangers doesn't sound too appealing to me. I was just like, but I can see it being that, like how we see with the Bad Bunch, or Bad Batch, where it's just like that, where it's, these, you get these ex-Imperial, people and there's just this kind of Suicide Squad, you know what I mean? They do the stuff that, like, you if you sent just regular Rebel Alliance or New Republic people out, they would just get slaughtered down. You know what I mean? They're like the stormtroopers. You know what I mean? They would just get slaughtered down. And I feel like the Rangers, these guys are just made up of just every, like, high end, combatant we saw. You know what I mean? So
now what could be interesting is if these Rangers of the New Republic become the Resistance and that ties into Leia.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. That would pique my interest a lot more. Like, just because we get the Leia tie-in, we get to see more about, where Leia and what Leia's doing during this time period. That would pique my interest more.
Yeah, she's training with Luke at one point. They saw that in Rise, so she's
and the interesting thing about that is, like, she gets pregnant with Ben on Endor.
Mm-hmm.
So that the training sequence is like a few months after, because she's pregnant while she's training.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has the vision of Ben becoming Kylo, and then she goes cold turkey. She stops training from that point. So she goes back into politics, and then she and Han split at some point during this time period too. And then it's revealed she's actually running. She runs for Chancellor of the New Republic, and her opponent uncovers the fact that her father is really Darth Vader, and that kills her political career. And she goes back to basically the military and becomes General Organa, and then she makes the resistance from that. So so I mean, I know they said this series runs concurrent to The Mandalorian as well. So I guess that's where, I don't know how it could tie into that, but I mean, I imagine that Leia is keeping her eye on these Rangers. It seems like something that she would be interested in.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I guess we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I need to know more about that series before I get hyped about it.
Yeah. And then we just got a few animation shows. What do we got? I think we have Divisions, Droid Story, and then obviously we have the Bad Bunch. Oh, is it Bad Bunch or Bad Batch?
Bad Batch.
Bad Batch. So,
I think so. The Droid series is R2 and C3PO on an adventure with a new droid, and I don't know where it takes place in the timeline. I'm not really that interested in it.
Yeah, it's
it's not my that one is not for me. I
Yeah,
already know.
yeah, it's for
Power.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's for kids, and power to them. I'm
Hmm.
glad they're making this for. And Kathleen Kennedy said we're making Star Wars for everybody. We're gonna have
Hmm.
something for everyone. That one's not for me, and I'm okay with it
Yeah.
because I'm getting a
But
whole
if
bunch of
it
stuff that
ties
I'm.
in
Yeah,
something, I'm watching
yeah,
it.
yeah. I'll read the cliff notes on like Wikipedia,
Yeah,
or watch some reviews on YouTube of it just to keep you know keep it in my purview. But
yeah.
nah,
It
that
ain't
ain't
for
for
me.
me.
Yeah, yeah. Like the same way when I saw the logo for it, I was like,
Yeah,
eh, eh.
yeah. I'm not buying what they're selling on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, I know. That's in the early morning cartoons, like for the kids, the 5-year-olds and stuff going.
And they need stuff like that. Like I'm 100% on board with them making this series. I just know that was not for me. Like same with the I think Star Wars Resistance was an animated thing, but that was for like kids. It was I mean it's a younger audience than Rebels, and like it screams like this is way below my uh
Yeah.
it's a G to PG crowd and not a PG-13 plus.
Hmm.
So yeah, that one didn't resonate with me, but
Yeah.
I listen. I'm glad they're making something for everybody. Like I said.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, the only other thing is Rogue Squadron and then the unnamed Taika Waititi film, and
Okay.
I'm very
Well,
high on this Rogue Squadron film because it's directed by Patty Jenkins. If you
mhm.
haven't seen the trailer that was released, where she's talking about her connection to this story and how her father was a combat pilot
Mm.
for the U.S. Army, or why I don't know if it was the Army, but for the United States.
Yeah.
He was a service member. He was killed in combat, um, and she's had a desire ever since she became a filmmaker, probably before, to make a film on or about combat pilots, since that's such a
Hmm.
significant part of her life, and her father being, and her being a Star Wars fan, and this story and Rogue Squadron being like,
About to
you
get the
know,
Top Gun.
it's
Top
about
Gun.
to be a it's about to be a great. That's going to be a great movie. Like,
Especially if it's
and the
anything
caliber,
like, yeah.
yeah, and the caliber of director that Patty Jenkins is, like, oh man, and then now she's got something that's emotionally charged that she is connected to, like on a
Oh,
personal level. Like,
it's
oh
gonna be.
man, it's gonna be great.
And I think also just all of the Rogue Squadron games. You know what I mean? If you just think about all of that stuff, like the story you can tell with just those that alone is just amazing. So I think at first I bet you some people probably looked at it like, oh, Rogue Squadron movie, nah, I don't want that. You know what I mean? But me personally, I played them all, played except for the new Squadron game. I haven't played that one yet, but uh all the old ones, I've enjoyed the story, everything. I think we're gonna get some really like the biggest one was think about the opening battle of on episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, when they're above Coruscant, the Battle of Coruscant, and they're just
Mhm.
going through all of that. You know what I mean? You just give me something like that where
Yeah,
there's these huge space battles and it's dog fights, and it's just like, and not make it to the point where, like, in the movies they make these TIE fighter and these X-Wing people expendable. Oh, they're blowing up and everything, everybody's getting killed
mhm.
off left and right. But if you just give me two, like what the new Squadrons trailer I've seen, where they're just putting up two great pilots, you know what I mean? And every
Yeah,
time they come into encounters with somebody, it's almost these close calls, you know what I mean? And that's all I want to see. I just want to see
yeah,
some real intense, dogfighting in the Star Wars universe.
yeah,
But that,
yeah. So in the new in the current canon timeline, Rogue Squadron is created after Rogue One. Like, it's in honor of the Rogue group that
mm,
steals the Death Star plan. So like that's they create Rogue Squadron after that event, in honor of the Rogue team.
yeah,
So or Rogue group. So that's also an element. So this would take place basically during between 4 and 5 is
okay,
when this would take place. And yeah, like, I mean, this is their age group. Like, Luke Skywalker is in Rogue Squadron. Um, uh, what's my man? Wedge Antilles
Mm-hmm.
is basically the leader of Rogue Squadron. We see the speeder. I forgot the man's name. That finds Luke on Hoth.
Mm.
But yeah, so like all those people, all those familiar faces from um, Empire Strikes Back are going to be prominently featured in this, and I'm pretty sure they'll add some more.
Oh, is it? Do we have a timeline on where Rogue Squadron takes place
Yeah,
after?
this is when it's going to take place. It's probably it'd have to be between 4 and 5.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
yeah, it'd have to be because I mean that's primarily how when and how they operate. I could see it bleeding over into um what's it called Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Um, possibly, but I think the prime time for their story is between 4 and 5
Yeah.
after the Rebel Alliance destroys the Death Star because now they're on the run from the
Mm-hmm.
Empire because the Empire is hunting down the Rebel Alliance like they haven't before, like seeking vengeance, and so this ace group of pilots is going to be the backbone of uh, their space combat.
Mm-hmm. And I think
Um,
this would be a good time to also explore the propaganda of how the Empire views this rogue group. You know what I mean? Of like Rogue Squadron, where the propaganda will be high and being like, "Look what they did! They killed your son in the Death Star. Look at these. This is unacceptable." You know what I mean? And build that fear amongst them and stuff like that. So I think that would be really good to see that type of side of the story too, where it's just not like, "Oh, they destroyed the Death Star. We're all happy," but in terms, you're like, are they really the good guys too? You know, maybe.
yeah, there probably be some hints of that.
Mm.
And then we'll probably see some special, um, some elite fighter squadrons from the Empire that Rogue Squadron will have to go up against.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to make it a little bit more of a fair fight because I mean Rogue Squadron like these are literally it's made up of the best pilots in the Rebel Alliance. Like
Yeah.
they're all ace pilots.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so whenever if they dispatch Rogue Squadron, it's for a very critical mission. So like they're
Yeah.
going to be running up into some heavy resistance that they don't want to risk any of their inexperienced pilots on.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, and seeing this squadrons against like the Rebel Alliance didn't fight too many um, capital ship to capital ship battles during this time period. Like they had the ships that they had because they needed to run and gun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the X wings and Y wing, I mean, their entire arsenal or the entire starship fleet were equipped with hyperdrives and shields, and unlike the Empire, like none of their starfighters are equipped with hyperdrives or shields, which is why
Mm-hmm.
they get picked apart. Like they're just supposed to be, they overwhelm you in number, and they're supposed to be just fast attack, go in, hit you hard, fast, cause a lot of damage, and they're out.
Yeah.
So like, two different tactics, but like it's going to be. I hope they incorporate a lot of what's in the Squadrons game because I think Squadrons kind of sort of does a really good job of balancing out the combat, especially for the um, squadrons
Mm-hmm.
on either side. Like the the Imperial ships are faster and they deal way more damage than the Rebel ships do. But the Rebel ships are just more balanced as far as like they've got shields that helps. The whole strength is stronger.
Yeah.
They don't deal as much damage and they're not as fast. But the balance is that they're defensible, get stronger defenses,
Yeah.
and they got hyperdrive. So like
Yeah, they got hyperdrives and they got like, was it R2 units on top of the on board the ship
yeah,
too, help them
yeah,
out too.
yeah,
So
yeah. They got those droids that can help repair and manage the ship systems.
yeah.
All that plays a factor. Like the Rebel Alliance doesn't have to send in a fleet of frigates and capital ships. Like they can send in a squadron like Rogue Squadron,
Yeah.
um, just like how we saw the Blue Squadron go in on that attack on the on that base at Eridu in Rogue One. Like that's how the
Mhm.
Rebel fight. That's how the
Yeah.
Rebel Alliance fights. Like they don't fight capital. They don't fight uh the Empire head on like that. So I want to see a lot of that where it starts at a space battle and they make their way to a planet and it goes from space a space battle to air battle back to the
Yeah.
space battle and then they're out. Like
Yeah. Yeah. They're done. They're like, we done, guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
so like because it makes it so much more interesting because the stakes are higher. Like yeah, like I
You
mean
would
they can
think,
get picked to pieces.
yeah. And do you think why do you think the Empire came up with the money or just technology to be like, okay, if they can jump to these their ships, why haven't they designed TIE fighters to be like, let's do the same thing with our TIE fighters? You know what I
Didn't
mean?
feel it. Yeah, I mean, they didn't feel it was necessary to have. I mean, they had all of these. They
Death,
invested heavily in their capital ships, and
yeah,
like
they're
they've
Death,
got.
Death Destroy, Star Destroyers and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Imperial Navy is massive. Like
Yeah.
they've got hundreds of thousands of star destroyers, like with all equipped hangars. Like they'd much rather drop 3 or 4 star destroyers out of hyperspace with a hangar full of TIE fighters,
Yeah.
dispatch them and cause havoc, and then recall them back to the ship. Like
Yeah.
that's they've got
I
the
guess
money
I
and the
guess it's
resources
true.
to do that. Yeah.
There's no taking down a Star Destroyer easy. So I
Yeah,
guess
no, they're not going up against like the rebel. So the Rebel Alliance really didn't have the firepower to take on the Imperial Navy until after Return of the Jedi. They were
okay.
outgunned like for that amount of time. Like
Yeah.
the one time, you see how quickly um that Darth Vader Star Destroyer made quick work of the Rebel fleet in Rogue One. Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
why they don't fight them head on like that. Like
Yeah. Mhm.
no,
Mm. Ain't none of that's going on. Yeah,
no, like that's a suicide mission.
exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and especially with any competent commanders at the head of the in commanding the Imperial Navy, like whoever was guarding uh um the planet, I forgot what was the name of the planet, Scarif.
Oh, Scarif.
Where the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like those 2 star destroyers, like whoever was in command of that force, they had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because they lost their job. That was just
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but and then the Y wings that they equipped with ion cannons, those can disable ships, and they punch through shields. Like they're unaffected by shielding. So like you can fire, they can dispatch a squadron of Y wings. All of them fire on a star destroyer, and it's disabled. Like ships, the shielding goes down. All of that, weapon systems disabled. All that stuff. Just like it, the where the Rebel Alliance chose to invest in its armament
Mm-hmm.
was basically everything they needed to get an advantage, or at least somewhat level the playing field against the Empire. Like they found and exploited every single one of the Empire's weaknesses in their fleet.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah,
So
man, like I want to see those squadron type of battles. Like
yeah, missions and stuff like that. Yeah. At
yeah,
first, I thought
because
Rogue Squadron was going to be a when they announced it, I thought it was going to be a TV show, and I thought we were just going to see a bunch of missions and stuff like that. But when I was like, oh, this is a movie, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
yeah, and it's gonna be great. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be great.
So what are you thinking? What can we speculate on? Close it out with what are we thinking about the untitled Star Wars movie?
I really have no idea. I mean, Taika Waititi is directing that, so I mean, I have no idea what that could be. It's going to be a different type of film. Taika probably would have been the better person to direct a Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
He's just got that type of levity with his directorial projects. Like he's a comedian
Yeah.
who has become a director. So
Yeah.
he understands how to hit those
Comedic
comedic undertones, knows how to add levity to drama. Well, he's
Mhm.
learning how to add levity to drama. Like he did such a good job. To me, Thor Ragnarok was the best Thor movie, and he directed that one because and the how he
Mhm.
used comedy and humor in
Yeah.
that was the best use of comedy and humor in the three movies, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I think that, be honest with you, that was kind of one of my favorite standalone out of all the standalone movies. I was like, that was my
It
favorite
was
standalone
fun.
movie.
It was
Fun.
fun. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was
It was
fun.
a fun
And
movie.
I think that whatever this movie is, it's going to be fun.
Mhm.
And I really have no expectations for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think the biggest reasoning why the two first Thor movies didn't really it's because they were trying to take themselves serious. And I think with that type of content of him, you just can't take that serious. You can't take like Thor. It's like they're gods and Loki, and it's I mean, like
Yeah.
it's going to be cartoony. Like you might as well just lean into that. You know what I mean?
Well,
Instead of trying to like, oh, how can I make this so realistic and you know and you know uh dramatic and everything like that. And it's just like, no, that's not Thor. You gotta, yeah.
if you're going to go more of the dramatic route with Thor, then you've got to go like all the way there.
You gotta,
You got to go like Troy. Like, I mean, you got to dive deep into the Norse mythology, and it's got to be like a god of war. Like, if you're going to take it serious, like
yeah.
you can't just be halfway
Mm-hmm.
serious and then
Yeah.
like no. That's why Taika's film worked better, because it didn't take itself too serious, but it still hit the dramatic tones it needed to, and it still honored the character
Yeah.
in Thor. But it was just a fun adventure with the God of Thunder. Like,
Yeah. And I'm excited to see the next one. So I mean, yeah, I'm all about it.
yeah, so I mean that's my expectation for the Taika film. Like, I just expect it to not take itself too serious. It's going to be a fun Star Wars adventure,
Okay.
and yeah, I don't care what time period it takes place in.
It's gonna be like Star Tours, man. Come on.
Yeah,
Just you
yeah.
been on Star Tours before, like the little Disney ride?
I've not. No,
Oh yeah, Star Tours is just like this
I've
fun
heard a lot
little
about it.
it's fun.
Yeah.
So it's like just one of those, just like I'll ride this all day. Just give it to me.
All right. Well, P. Rich, man, appreciate you for joining. Where can the people find you?
Hey man, I'm on Instagram, Parco Rich.
Word. Okay. So yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for everyone who watched and tuned into this stream, this Star Wars Sunday. Quick FYI, this being the final episode of The Mandalorian. This Friday, this will be the last Friday stream that we do regarding The Mandalorian, but we will have I plan to do another Star Wars stream on Fridays, and then I'll continue the Sunday streams. As always, until the 15th. January 15th is when WandaVision comes out. And so we'll have a WandaVision recap show on Fridays. And until then, we'll have two Star Wars shows. And, P. Rich, JBM, anybody, guest hosts will be back returning. Hopefully, maybe I can get both, JBM and P. Rich on those Friday streams.
Yep.
But yeah, so if you want more Star Wars content, you got it coming. Don't worry, we're going to keep that Friday slot open. And that's the news for today. Like I always say, peace, love, blessings, and may the force be with you.